All right, continuing with trig here, we are now dealing with cosine and tangent. So we just did sine. It is a good thing to remember SOHCAHTOA, and what those are really for. They're just for us to remember that a formula for sine is sine of an angle equals opposite over hypotenuse. That's really all it's there. That's all it's designed for, is to help you remember this formula. And same with cosine. It's really only here to help you remember cosine of some angle equals adjacent over hypotenuse. And lastly, tangent. That TOA part is only there to remind you of tan of some angle equals opposite over adjacent. So those are the three formulas that you have to remember, and SOHCAHTOA can help you remember those formulas. So let's actually try to do one of these. Now, I'm not even doing anything right now. I can see that I have an angle here. I remember I can never use a 90-degree angle, and this angle is useless because there's nothing there and I don't need to find anything. So immediately I know that this is going to be my perspective. And so I can look across here, look across. This would be the opposite because it is opposite to the angle from my perspective. Of course, this is the hypotenuse. You always know the hypotenuse because it's opposite of the 90-degree. And the last one would have to therefore be the adjacent side. Now I'm assuming that it has an E here, that it means that I need to find this missing side, but let's just say using cosine or tangent, find the unknown side. Use 1 decimal place. That might not be true. I usually like to use 3 decimal places. But if we're using the trig table, then we might just kind of round to 1 decimal place. So adjacent, that's what I need to find. And I'm given some information about the hypotenuse, so I might as well use that. I'm not given anything about the opposite. So I have H and A. That's what I have here. H and A. Well, so Ka, that has H and A, and that is using cosine. So we're going to use the Ka formula, which, like we just wrote, cosine of some angle equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay, so what angle do we have? Now it does give us the angle from our perspective. It's 15 degrees. So cosine of 15 degrees is equal to the adjacent, which is E. I don't actually know that. And the hypotenuse, which is 100. Okay, so now we need to do cos of 15, and we've got 2 options. First, we can look at the table. So I can scroll down here. Cosine is right here, and 15 looks like it's right. Okay, now something's going on. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. So 15 is right. I can see 15 right here. And cosine, I think, was the second column. Yeah. So 15 cosine is right here. So 0.9659. So 9659. And I usually like to do 3 decimal places, but if it's got them all, I might as well use them. So this is 0.9659 equals E over 100. And now I can times that by 100. Times that by 100. And if I'm timesing it by 100, I can move the decimal place over twice. So I have 96.59 is equal to E. I didn't write the 96 decimal. Okay, so that is my side length using the trig chart. And I mean, it's an estimate, but... Okay, so the other way to do it is to actually do cos of 15 with a calculator. Okay, so 15 cos is going to be 9659, so the exact same number. And so I'd probably write 966 if I had done 3 decimal places, and then I would do the exact same thing. So whether you use a calculator or use a chart, there it's going to end up being the exact same thing. So that is my side length E. E is 96.59. Okay, let's try this. It wants us to find the unknown side. Okay, well, there it is. Now, what am I going to do for a perspective? Well, I can't use the 90 degree, and of course that's empty. So that only gives me an option of 30 degrees right there. So from that perspective, let's label things. Well, this side is obviously the hypotenuse because it's opposite of the 90 degrees. But from this perspective, we can look all the way here. That is opposite. And I labeled the hypotenuse, so all that's left here is the adjacent. So I've got some information there for the adjacent, and I need to find the opposite. So that is O and A. So I can think to myself, okay, what has O and A in it? Well, that is TOA, which is tangent. So the formula is tan of some angle is O and A equals opposite over adjacent. And I can fill in the information that I know. Tan of the angle, which in this case is 30, is equal to opposite. Now what's the opposite? Opposite is B over the adjacent, which is 20. Okay, so then what on earth is tan 30? Okay, well, let's take a look maybe at the trig table. So I can look down here at 30 degrees. Slowly. Okay, so here's 30, and tan is the far one on the right, so 0.5774. 0.5774. So 0.5774 equals B over 20. Now, if we did that with a calculator, I could go 30, and tan is 0.5774. And it actually doesn't say 4, it says 3. I probably would have rounded it to 77. So I'm actually going to change it here just to 577. Just keep the 3 decimal places since there was a little bit of a difference between them. Okay, so now I got to get the B alone. So I'm going to times this by 2, and times this by 2. Sorry, I said 2, but I actually meant 20. Now, I don't know, I know that 577 times it by 20, well, that's really two things. I can times it by 2, and then I can move the decimal place over by timesing it by 10. So really what I have to do is I have to double 577. So 577 doubled, times it by 2, that'll be 14, and then 14 again, plus 1 is 15, and then 10 plus that is 11. And so that's timesing it by 2, 1154, so put the decimal place there. So 0.577 ends up doubling it, and remember there's 3 decimal places, so I just did 3. And then I have to move the decimal place over 1, so it's 11.54 is equal to B. So timesing by 20 there can be a little bit odd. 577 doubled is 1,000, and I had to do 3 decimal places, so it was actually 1. So this, if I was to multiply that, this would be 1.154, but then I needed to move it over because I got to times it by the 10 as well. So that's what ended up making it 11. Okay, so we've got both of those questions here, which I'll just zoom out here, and you can take a look. Both of them are done either with a trig table or with a calculator, depending on what you're given and what you have available to you.